Okay, so we are going to move on to distance formula and find the length between these 2 points. So if I look back at my picture here, I'm going to find the actual length. Oh, sorry, I don't need this yet. We're going to find the length from the water slide to the help center. We're going to find this distance. So what we need to do is we need to write down our ordered pairs that we've been using. So our help center is 1, 1, and our water slide's -3, -2. And I'm going to label them as x1, y1, and x2, y2. And I'm just going to follow my formula. Now, I think it might have the x's first on your paper instead of the y's, but it really doesn't matter because we're adding, and adding is commutative, so it doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is we're going to subtract our y values and square them. So we have -2 minus 1. So these are my y values. -2 minus 1 squared. And then I'm going to take my x values and subtract them. So -3 minus 1 squared. And all of that is underneath my square root. So -2 minus 1 is -3. And -3 squared is 9. -3 minus 1 is -4, and -4 squared is 16. 9 plus 16 is 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So this comes out to be a whole number. You can type this whole part right here into the calculator, and it'll tell you 5. But that's not always the case. Sometimes this number under here, this 25, and underneath the radical does not come out to be a whole number. So we don't just want to type this into the calculator and get a decimal. We want to have a reduced radical, a radical in most simplest form. So I'm going to give you another example where it does not come out to be like this. So for example, if my toddler area in my concession stand, if my toddler area was at 10.2 and my concession stand was at 6.0. Again, I'm going to do the same labeling. x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to subtract my y's and I'm going to square them. So 0 minus 2 squared. Then I'm going to subtract my x's and square them. So 6 minus 10 squared. And that all goes underneath my radical. So 0 minus 2 is -2, and -2 squared is 4. 6 minus 10 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. 4 plus 16 we all know is 20. If you put that into the calculator, you're going to get a decimal, and that's not what I want. We all know that 20 is 4 times 5, and 4 is 2 times 2. I have a pair of numbers, and I have a number that doesn't have a pair. Now 2, 2, and 5 are all prime numbers. So I'm going to break down 20 into its prime factorization, which is 4 times 5, and then 4 is 2 times 2, and I can't go any further. I've got my pairs. My pairs go on the outside, and my single number goes on the inside. The reason why this number goes on the outside is because 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So if we can do this, we would like to write it as a simplified radical. Now this isn't always possible. Say we got square root of 21 underneath the radical. Well, 21 is only 7 times 3. 7 and 3 are both prime numbers, so there's nothing more that I can do. I can't circle any pairs and rewrite it. So I'm just going to leave it as square root of 21, if that's what I got underneath the radical. Okay, so back to my picture. All this is saying is the length of this red line is 5 units. Now there's no real way to check that unless we had a ruler or something like that. Okay. Alright, next part. So, we are going to write some equations. So we're using these same ordered pairs and then the slope that we had from task 3. So my help center was at 1, 1, and my water slide was at -3, -2. My slope from task 3 was 3/4. That was my slope to get from the water slide to the help center. So it says that I'm going to pick one of the ordered pairs. I can pick whichever one I want. Just so I can show you some of the work, I'm not going to pick 1, 1. It's too easy. I'm going to pick -3, -2. You are welcome to pick the easier one. It's not a problem. You'll get the same answer no matter what you do. So we know that this is x and this is y, and here's my m. Here's my slope. So y equals mx plus b. And I need to solve for b. So I take 3/4 and multiply it by -3, and this is where a calculator would really come in handy. That's going to be -9/4. And then since that's negative, I need to add to the other side. So I'm going to add 9/4 to both sides. And again, a calculator would be handy here. So -2 plus 9/4 is 1/4, and that's equal to b. So to write my equation, I have y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to go now and look at my graph and make sure it looks like it should be crossing at 1/4. So looking at my graph, definitely looks like 1/4 here is my y-intercept. And remember, my slope is 3/4 because I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there'll be more in the next video.